Hello friends, welcome to Java AWT series. In this video, we are going to create a dialog and we will display it. And if you look at the screen here, left side you are seeing an AWT frame window. And from that frame window, we will launch the dialog box which is shown in the right hand side. So in the frame window, if you see, user will fill the name, age, then the address is a text area that is disabled. So user have to click that ellipsis button, that means the 3-dot button. So that will launch the dialog which is in the right hand side. So there user will fill the house, flat, street, city, state and zip. Then they will click OK. So once they click OK, whatever data filled in this dialog will appear in the address text area in a formatted way. So since we are not allowing the user to enter the data in the address field, the address is taken from the user through a separate dialog, and dialog will take care of how to format the input. So once the dialog is closed by the user by clicking OK, the address field in the AWT frame window will have the formatted information. So that's the example here we are going to create, and in this video you will learn about AWT dialog theoretical part. Then we will create this example. So this is the prerequisite for this video. I have to go to our playlist 04, Java AWT playlist, go to channel. So there are at this stage we have only 5, but in future you may have many playlists. So you can search for Java AWT, and in the playlist the playlist number is 04. In that you can look at the very first video. So this video has information about how to create frame window. So first you have to go through this video and create a frame window. Then you can proceed with this present video. Here we are creating the dialog. So AWT Dialog Class. So the dialog class is exposed inside java.awt package. So this class is useful to create a dialog boxes. Unlike frame window, the dialog does not have any minimize and maximize buttons. That means you will have only close button. Actually, there are two type of dialogs. One is a Modal dialog and another one is a Modulus dialog. So when we talk about dialog class, so we can construct this dialog box with 3 important parameters. One is title, another one is parent. So a dialog requires a parent. So the parent can be another dialog or it can be a frame window. Then the third one, is a Boolean flag which tells how the dialog will be displayed, whether it is displayed as Modal dialog or Modulus dialog. So we can construct the dialog with these 3 parameters. So title will be displayed in the top portion of the dialog, just like frame window. Title dialog also can display the title, and that we can set through the constructor or using the setter method. Then parent. So as already told, the parent can be a dialog or it can be a frame window. That means when you close the parent, it will close the underlying dialog, and when The dialog is displayed as model. You cannot access a frame window, but if it is a modulus, you can access the frame window. So this happens when model dialog is visible or displayed. So if model dialog is in hidden state, that time you can close the parent window, that means frame window. So once you close the frame window, since the model is a child of this parent, it can be a frame or dialog. When you close this parent, it will close the dialog, whether it is model or modulus. So there is a method called setVisible, which can accept either true or false. When you say true, the dialog will be displayed, and if you set false, then the dialog will be hidden. Right. So we are talking about model and modulus, right? So let us say that we have some piece of code. So when you invoke the AWT dialog as a model dialog, so the execution flow will come here. Then when it is executing this code, the control moves here. Then the control will get executed, or the control flow occurs here. Till user clicks OK or cancel the remaining piece of code. This means this piece of code, this will be blocked. So once user clicks OK or cancel, that time we will resume back here. So the sequence will be 1. Then we invoke the dialog, so it goes to here, and here we will be blocked. Then once user clicks OK or cancel, the time we will resume back and we will execute a remaining piece of code. So this is what called model dialog. That means if this piece of code here, if it is a frame window or some other dialog, that dialog is blocked and you cannot access any of the controls inside that. That means you cannot type anything on that UI controls, or you cannot click any buttons, I mean in the parent. So once you close the dialog, then only the parent dialog will get enabled. That's because of this black edge. So the code executes here, then control is transferred to the model dialog, then the code that is related to model dialog will be executed. So the focus will not be given back until user clicks OK or cancel. So once user clicks OK or cancel, then we can gain control back. Then we can gain control back here in this model piece of, I mean in the parent container code. Now let us see how modulus work. So here if you see, previously we invoked the dialog as a model. Now let's assume we are invoking the dialog as modulus. It has some controls. What happens, the flow runs here 1, and there will be execution here as well. We will call it as 1A. Then flow still continues here. So here if you see, there is no blocking. Once the dialog is invoked, the execution resumes and continues here. So it won't wait for the dialog get closed or cancelled. That means the code here which will run in parallel with the parent code. That means user can interact with both the parent as well as a child dialog. So if a frame window is launching this, user can still interact with both the dialog. So when a dialog is displayed, they can interact with this dialog, or they can even interact with its parent. So that's what called Modulus dialog. Let us say here this is a frame window, and in that frame window we are clicking the, let's say, get address button. So then here we will pick some of the displayed address, a customer address. Let's say it's a customer address form, and you will search for a specific customer. Then you will pick that particular customer, then we will click OK. So what happens, the parent dialog will still wait for the user input. Once they pick a particular customer, it will send back that customer to the parent window. Then parent window will make use of the relevant control to populate the information related to the customer. So in this case, if you see, the parent dialog should wait till user fills all the information in the displayed dialog. Why? Because the remaining portion of control here depends on the parent, the child dialog. Once that information is filled, then control resumes back. For Modulus dialog, if we want to know an example, let us say that the parent frame window is having a big text area. There user can type a memo text. Then here in the search, they can search for a particular keyword in the memo text. That means they can open both and they can work on it. Or if they want to add a content from a text file to this memo text, they can click on the they can invoke the dialog as a modulus. Then they can perform a file search here. So the file search will take some time to complete. So waiting here in the main dialog till the search completion is not a good idea. So that's why people will open this as a modulus. They can opt for the search. So it will search for a specific file. While it is searching, the user can go ahead and type their memo text. Once the file search is completed and it finds a text file or image file, they can attach here in the memo text wherever they want. So that's the use of Modulus dialog. So in this example, we are going to create a Modulus dialog. And if you see here, this is our frame window. This frame window has a ellipsis button, and once you click that ellipsis button, that will launch this dialog. So in this dialog, user can fill the content. Let's say user fills some content here. So after filling the content, they can either click OK or cancel. And if you look at here, the address field is disabled at this moment. That means this is actually a text area. The text area is disabled. That means user cannot type anything here in the frame window. So this is a good example for a dialog. So once they click this button, dialog will get launched. So when a dialog is displayed, we cannot access this AWT frame window. That means we cannot type anything here in the name box or in the age box, or we cannot even close this frame window when this dialog is displayed. Alright, in the dialog we will fill this detail, then we will either click OK or cancel. When we click OK, we will collect all this information, then we will format the address in a, we will display the address in a formatted way. And if we click cancel in the dialog, then we will display some none or something here in the address field. Alright, now let us look at the example. We will go to Eclipse and create the example. So this is our frame window. So this is the code which we created in the very first video of the series. Now we will continue. And if you see in each the example, we will make change to this set size and set location. So you can adjust this set size and set location so that the controls will appear in a neat way. So if you want to arrange the control in a perfect way, you can go with grid back layout. Alright, first we will display. Here we declare a text area. So in the frame window, if you see, we get a name, age, then to fill this text area, we will launch the dialog. So we declare this text area as a class member since we need it in different places. Next we add button, label and text area. First let us import the label. If you see, first we created 3 labels. One is address, name and age. After that we create 2 text fields. So one is for name and another one is for age. After that we create a button with a ellipsis. So that was a wrong place. Alright, so inside the constructor we created all this control. Then we created a text area with text area with 3 rows and 40 column. After that we are enabling the text area to false. So this is the first thing we did. So now the controls are ready, and now we will add it to the frame window. So now let us display the frame window, and if you see, the frame window is ready, and here we manually resized the dialog. That means we resized the dialog. After that we set this size so that the control looks good. But if I resize it, it will look in a so to have it in a nice looking way, we set a different size here. So since this is just for demo purpose, so we adjusted this value. 420 160 is best suited to accommodate all these controls so that it looks professional. But if you want to create a proper layout, then you have to go for grid back layout or If you are using swing, it will be even more easy, but in AWT, grid back layout is the best one that you can use. Alright, now the frame window is displayed. Now what we have to do, when we click this button, we want to launch the dialog. That means first we need to implement action listener, and in the action performed event of this button, we have to launch a dialog. So we haven't yet created the dialog. So after handling this action listener, after having the boilerplate code, we will move to creating a new class here in the AWT package. Then we will develop the dialog, and after that we will come back here. Now we will go to our frame window class, and we will add action listener. Then we will add and choose add unimplemented method from Eclipse. I'm just placing the cursor here and I'm clicking add an unimplemented method. So here we are creating the btn address, right? Now we have now our frame window can act as action listener, and we have a dummy method here. We will come to this method later after creating the dialog. Now we will register our button with this listener. So btn address that we created here, 3-dot button. Then we are registering that button with the action listener. So in the slide we saw we can create a dialog using the java.awt.dialog instance. So what we are going to do here, we are going to create a new class. So we will name this class as address DLG. Then in the super class, we have to choose java.awt and dialog class. So our address dialog is extending from AWT dialog. So let's click finish. And if you see, the address dialog is ready. Next, so first let us look at the error, what it states. Implicit super constructor is undefined for default constructor. Must define an explicit constructor. Now let us define a constructor. So let's place the cursor here. Then we will pick a suitable constructor for us. So definitely we need to specify a parent window. The parent window is not a dialog in our case. Since we want to launch this dialog from the frame window, we have to skip the first 4 constructor. Okay, so our constructor window also not suitable for our case. So we have to pick from these 5 constructor. So we need frame, we need string. This will set the title, and this is to specify our parent as frame. Then we want to display this dialog as a Modulus dialog, so we will pick this also. So that, yeah, so we will pick this. Otherwise we need to set separate we need to make a call to separate set function, setter function. Alright, so this constructor is suitable for us. So I'm I just picked that. So if you see frame owner, we will accept the default class and parameter name. So our constructor is ready now. Next we will define class members. And if you see, our dialog requires text fields. So these text fields are to get user input. So the user will type flat, street, city, state, zip. And this private variable is to have a formatted text of these user input values. So we will take the content from these text boxes and then we will format the address out. Okay, let us put a command for our constructor also. So this is our dialog constructor. Now we need to create all these field and add it to the dialog. So this is almost equivalent to how we create our controls to the frame window. Then so for frame window, what we do, we create the frame window. We will set its location, then its size. After that we create the components like these UI components, text, checkbox, all those components. Then we will add it to the frame window. So the same stuff we have to do for the dialog. So this time, instead of using the constructor, we will create a new member method. Inside this method, first we will set the size for our dialog, then we are setting the location. So almost equivalent to what we do for the frame window. Then here we are setting the layout as a flow layout. Next we create labels for the dialog. Here once again we have to import java.awt. Why? Because this import is for the address dialog. Next we create text fields. And if you see, we are creating the components for the dialog. So we need 5 text field to get input from the user. Then to denote what each text box means for, we create a label. So that's why we have 5 label and 5 text boxes created. Now after filling these values, user will either click OK or cancel. That means we need 2 buttons. And once we place 2 buttons, then we need to handle the button event. So it's a good idea to create button, then set the action command to them. And if you see here, we created 2 buttons. One is button OK and another one is button cancel. After that we are setting the action command. For first button we are setting OK, and for the second button we are setting the cancel as the action command. Finally we add all these controls to our dialog. And if you look at, you have to look at the order. First we add a label, then text field, after that label, then text, so that first a label for text flat appears, after that a text box will appear. So the order is important in which order we add the components. Finally, we add OK and cancel buttons to our dialog box. Here the add method is for the address dialog, which is extending from dialog. That means here we are adding the component to our dialog class. And if you see here, since we derived it from frame window, the add method, all these controls are added to the frame window. So since we haven't yet handled the window closing event, we should not run it now, and displaying the dialog will hang the application. So first we have to handle the window closing event. After that we can run and see how the dialog appears. Now we will implement Windows Listener for this dialog. So after saving, it will prompt to add unimplemented methods. So it presented many methods. In that we will implement only the required method. Let me do the cleanup. So here we are going to handle only the window closing event. So if you see here, we implemented the window listener, and we placed a dummy implementation code here at the bottom. So actually IDE provided this, we just formatted. So after adding these controls, so we already implemented this dialog with the window. So we implemented a window listener, and we kept dummy implementation also. Now we will register our dialog with this window listener. So in the window closing event, we will just hide the dialog. So the frame window, if you see, in the window closing, we are disposing the frame window. That means when we dispose, the frame window will get closed and the control returns back here, and it exits the main window. So the exit will be the normal exit. That means here, since we say it visible to true, this will be a blocking call, and the static void main will wait till the frame window get closed. So here in the window closing of frame window, we are disposing the window. But here for the dialog, since the parent is frame window, we are just hiding it by setting the visible property to false. But when user actually closes the dialog, here we are not closing the dialog, we are just making its visibility to false. So this will give us one more advantage. That means when we next time we can launch the dialog, and we can access the same member. But for that, the dialog needs to be the member of the frame window. But in this example, to avoid complexity, each time we will create a new dialog and we will launch it. So in the window closing, we are just setting the visible to false. So once we set visible to false, this dialog will be hidden, and the control resumes back to its parent. So our dialog class is ready. So in the init dialog, we set size and location, then we set flow layout. After that we create labels, then we create text fields, then we create button, and we set action command. Finally we add all the controls to our dialog class. Then we implement window listener, and we will handle the close event. In that we set the visible property of the dialog to false. Then we register our dialog with the window listener, so that when user clicks the close button, it will make a call to we can handle that closing by setting the dialog visibility to false. Now we need to make a call to this init dialog here inside the constructor. Alright, now we can run this, but we need to create this dialog in the frame window to actually see this dialog to get displayed on the screen. Now if you see, when I run it, we haven't yet handled this, so we should go to frame window, and here is the action performed. When action is performed, we need to do two things. So one is in this action handler, we need to display the dialog. So the dialog will be displayed as model. That means when we construct, we need to send a boolean flag of true, and we will see that soon. And once the dialog is displayed, the code will be blocked in the action performed, and once user fills the data and clicks OK to the dialog, the control resumes back to the action performed. So then we will read the content of the dialog, and we will set that in the address. So it may be vague at this moment if you are a beginner. So once we start writing the code, you will understand. Now we will create this dialog. And if you see here, address dialog, this is the dialog class which extends from dialog, and here we are using the constructor with the two parameter, owner, title, then model, and this is super keyword is to pass these three parameter to the base class, that means to the dialog class. So that's why here we are creating a address dialog with the three parameter. And if you see, the first one is a string, the owner is the frame. So that's what here it is asking, frame, that's the owner. That's the constructor version we are using in our address dialog. That means in the extended class. So from the frame window, we are passing the instance of this. That means we are passing the current instance. The frame window we are passing as the parent. Then for the second parameter, we are passing the string. So that means we need a dialog title as address form. Third parameter, we are passing true. That means we want to display this dialog as model. So here we are making call to set visible function. After that, if I put something int x equal to 0, say for example, so this statement will not get executed. So in the action performance, the execution halts here or blocks here, get blocked here. The control resumes to address DLG. So in the address DLG, we have OK and cancel button. We will write code in the OK and cancel button. But here we have a handler for the closing. That means once user closes that, we are setting visibility to false. That means the control resumes to int x equal to 0. But till that time, the call will get blocked here. Alright, now it's time to test it. We can test actually. And if you see, this is our dialog, and once again on a trial and error method we adjusted this size for a demo purpose. So if you need a perfect control layout, you have to go for a grid back layout, or if you are using swing, there will be other nice layout like box layout. Some people even use absolute positioning. That means they won't use any any layout, and they will position the control, each and every control based on X and Y coordinate. Alright, now if you see OK and cancel button won't work, but we can close this. So in the demo you saw that we can able to launch our dialog from the frame window. Now the pending work here is in the dialog. Once I click OK, I need to format the output and store that in ADDR out. Since this is a private member, we need to provide one getter method. Setter is not required. So the data field here, from there we will generate this address out, but we need to provide a getter, and the caller is here, and this caller will use that getter method to get the formatted string. Then that string we can assign it to this text area. Alright, now we will do that. Okay, first we need to implement action listener. This action listener is for the buttons, for this OK and cancel button. So here is our action performed. This is where we need to implement some code. So just cross-checking whether we have action command. So we already set action command for our OK and cancel button. We implemented action listener, and our action listener skeleton is ready in the bottom. Now we will register the button with action listener. If you see here, first we are getting the action command. So this will either give OK or cancel. That's the action command we are setting. So it gives OK when you user clicked the OK button, or it gives cancel when user clicked the cancel button. So we have the action in the string action, then we are comparing it with the string function compare to. So when user pressed OK, it means this is the condition equal to 0. We are formatting the address field with txt_flat.getText. So we are using the getText and we are formatting it. So this /r/n will append the content in a new line. That means flat we are displaying it in one line, then street we are displaying it in next line, city we are displaying it in third line, then we are appending an hyphen, we are not creating new line, and in the same line we are displaying the state. Then finally zip or pin number, we are displaying it. And when the action is not okay, that means the user clicked the cancel button. So there we are setting ADR out as none. So finally we need to set our dialogs visibility as false. That means here we are handling the OK or cancel button. That means once user clicks OK or cancel, we will hide the dialog. That means the user made their decision. So OK in the sense they typed everything, then they clicked OK. Sometimes they may click cancel also. So we are handling that too. So after OK or cancel click, we need to hide the dialog. That's why we are making call to set visible with a parameter of false. If you see here, our ADDR out, which is a string variable at class level, ADDR out, that is populated. So we are populating this while user clicks OK or cancel. But this string is a private member. That means we need to provide a method, getter method, that will return this string to the user. So just right click this, or you can even go to address DLG, then right click here, source, generate getter and setter, and we just need it for ADDR out. So I just expanded that. Then we don't want setter, we just need getter. So I'm clicking that. Then we will add it as a insertion point, as a last member. Click OK. So Eclipse wrote a function for us, and that just returns our ADDR address. We just need to put our comment tag. So this sequential command will be very useful when you are searching it. So for example, if you search here, sample search. So when you are working on a big projects, this sequential number will help you to navigate through the code, or in what order it was implemented. So it will be easy to understand and follow through the code if some other person watches your code. All right. So now we put our sequence number here, 14.3, get ADDR out. So now the ADDR out is ready. So as you guessed rightly, we will move to our action performed method, and we will make a call to the set text, ADDR DLG, right? ADDR DLG get address out. And if you see here, let's walk through this once again. The control comes here first. So this is the action performed once user clicks the 3-dot button in the frame window. We will come here, we will launch our dialog at this line number 68. Then we will set visibility to true. That means the control stays here. The execution flow will be blacked in the frame window, and the control flow is transferred to dialog. So there it will wait for user interaction. User will type something, then they will click OK button. When they click OK button, the code here will run. And when you set visibility of the dialog to false, the dialog will get hidden and the control resumes from here. Remember, here we are not disposing the dialog. Since the dialog is not disposed, we can still access this dialog. That means it is still in the heap. So address DLG dot get ADDR out, that's our setter method. That setter method will access the private member ADDR out, which is populated in the OK or cancel handler. So that is returned, and that return value, so this will return our formatted text string, and we are setting that to the text area which is housed by this frame window. So t address dot set text, then we are setting the text we are set instead ABC, we can set text like this. So now we are making use of our dialog and we get the return value, and we use that to set the text of our text area. Now we can run this. And if you see, this text area is read only or disabled, so we cannot type anything here. So now we depend on model dialog. So once the model dialog is displayed, if you see, I can't access it, and this also blinks stating that I cannot access, this is blocked. So now let us type some address here. So once I click OK, you can see the formatted text. That means my flat is appearing in the first line, my street, the street name is appearing in the second line, then city and state is apparently appearing in the third line, and these two fields are formatted by hyphen in between. So city hyphen state, in that format it is displayed in the third line, then the fourth line displays the zip code. So if I click cancel, you'll see none, and if I close, it doesn't populate that address text, so that's why you are seeing empty. So that's all here in this demo. Here we doesn't use Modulus dialog, but we used a model dialog. So this is our here. Let's assume that this is the code inside our frame windows action performed method. So in the action performed method, we constructed the dialog, then we invoked the dialog using the setVisible method, so that invokes the dialog. Then the control flow is shifted from here to here. In the demo you saw, when I try to click close, how it blinked, so it doesn't allow the control to flow there. So since we displayed it as a model dialog, the control is blocked here and it is transferred to the model dialog. So then after that we filled and we clicked OK. That means it ran code for the OK handler. After that, when we set visible to false, the control returned back to our frame windows action performed method. That means action performed method of 3.ellipsis button. And then we used the getter method of the formatted string, and then we displayed that in the text area. And you also saw how we created the dialog. Actually, we extended the dialog, then we constructed it using the title, parent. Parent, we supplied a frame, and in the available constructor you saw dialog frame window. So there are almost 5 constructors, and we picked one that accepts all 3. So you can construct without this flag also, but the version we used is title, parent, and boolean flag we set model dialog. Then you saw how we used the set visible. We used both. In the OK button handler, we used set visible to true, and in the OK or cancel button handler of the dialog, we used set visible false. to make the dialog as hidden. Here in the frame window, we want to show the dialog, so we set it to true. So that's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.